Welcome to Travel Secrets with me, Tanya Rose, the podcast sharing wisdom for fellow travellers. Each week, I ask my guests to share their 6 travel secrets and the holidays and adventures that surround them. I would just like to say thank you to Maison Rose, the sales and communication agency that represents some of the finest hotels around the world, for partnering with Travel Secrets, the podcast. Today, my guest is one of my very favourite actors, Richard
That's what
E.
you
Grant.
say to every guest.
I certainly don't. I promise you I don't.
I know you do.
I don't. And if you listen to it, you will know that I don't. I try and change it, but you really are. We met recently with a friend, mutual friends, and my thespian-to-be son, Jake, who was actually almost speechless for the whole night. I said to him, I've never heard you not speak as much. And he said, Mum, how can I speak with my hero from Withnail and I? He knows literally every single line. He was in heaven. We had the best evening. Richard, you have worked non-stop since you first came from Swaziland, and I think your late dear wife sorted out your dodgy accent,
yes,
whatever she did.
Yeah.
And you have been in some of my very favourite films, Jack and Sarah. I adore Jack and Sarah.
Thank
you. It was such a lovely film. And the house, actually, I want to live in the house. Saltburn, Can You Ever Forgive Me, Downton Abbey, Game of Thrones, the list goes on and on. I adore your book, A Pocket Full of Happiness.
Thank
and
you.
all I would say is that you bring a pocket full of happiness to everyone that you meet. So I am honoured and delighted that you're here with me, sitting on the sofa and ready to share your travel secrets.
Thank you very much for having me. Right.
Before we get into them, perhaps you can just tell us a bit about yourself and how travel has impacted the man that you've become.
Well, I grew up in what was then called Swaziland until 2 years ago when it was changed to Eswatini by the current king. And it was the smallest, or is the smallest country in the Southern Hemisphere. It was a colonial protectorate when I grew up there. And so everything beyond that, there was one movie house, there was no TV, that arrived in 1980 after I'd emigrated. So travel was the way out of that world, either reading or listening to the wireless, as we called it then, BBC World Service, or getting on a propeller plane that had to go from, you couldn't fly directly to London in the 60s. You had to go via Angola, refuel, or Nairobi, and then finally get to England. So it was a long haul. But, I've loved all that travel all my life. So. And
when you left Swaziland, did you come straight to England?
Yeah, I emigrated in 1982, just as the Falkland War was kicking off. Margaret Thatcher trying to save her political position. And I emigrated. So I just turned 25.
And started being an actor.
Yeah, I trained as an actor in Cape Town and co-founded a theatre company there. And then after my father died, I then came to live in England because I had a British passport, and so I thought this would be the place to, like Dick Whittington, to try and find my fortune, which I have because I'm now fantastically rich.
You have a fantastic
life. Not as rich
life.
as you.
You have a fantastic life, and you do travel all over the place for work and for pleasure.
Well, you say a fantastic life. I don't know why you think it's a fantastic life. I think it is because my father died when he was 53, and that made such a profound impression on me that your time is short, and nobody comes back, or nobody that I know of has come back from the dead. So, grabbing as much as you can out of every day has been my absolute mantra.
I think you have a fantastic life because you do something you love. And this is what I tell my son all the time. I said, if you do something you love, you never feel like you work. And I don't feel like I work because I love travel and I go to amazing places. So I never feel like I'm working. I am working. I'm working hard. But I don't feel like it's a job. I just think it's a really lovely thing to do.
And do you stay free everywhere you go?
If it's one of my clients, the great thing about being the boss is that you have to go and look at a new hotel.
Oh,
so
tough.
You know more about hotels probably than I do, because you did the amazing travel program, Hotel Secrets. This is Travel Secrets, and you did Hotel Secrets, and you went to incredible hotels, many of which and who are clients of mine. So I do know a lot of the hotels that you went to. The Peninsula, which is where we're filming now, you did the Peninsula in Hong Kong, didn't you?
I did.
Which is an incredible hotel.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Yeah. It's staying in a hotel is somehow, I think it's one of the sexiest things you can do, because you feel anonymous when you're staying in a hotel, and there's room service, and your bed is changed every day, and obviously if you're a good hotel rather than a flea pit one. So all of that, it's like you're divested of all responsibility, and that's what I love about it.
Well, we look after 80 of the best hotels around the world,
Put me
any
in
of
all of
which
them.
would love you to go. So I'm sending you my list, and the world is your oyster between your very busy schedule, because I know you work back to back. So just pick where you want to go.
And this is recorded. You do realise
it is.
This is
on
an offer
record
that you cannot refuse.
I can't.
Of course, you have the power to edit all of this out.
No, I won't edit this out, because I want you to go to as many of the hotels. It's very important.
Okay.
Let's get into your travel secrets.
All right.
What is your number one destination that you think everyone should go to once in their lifetime?
Anywhere that you can go on a safari. So ideally, you should go to the Serengeti in Tanzania / Kenya, because the experience of that is something that I've seen people that have never been on a safari before, who have faced all their fears about wild animals or being in Africa or whatever they have, and the transformation that happens in them is probably akin to people going to India for the first time, where something just shifts inside you that, I don't know whether it's the size of the sky, how small you feel as a human being, and how astonishing it is to see animals in their natural habitat, is something that I will do that as long as I can breathe.
I've only ever been to South Africa on safari, and it was absolutely magical.
Where did you go?
I went to Singita.
I've been there.
I went to Royal Malawan, which is also in the Kruger.
Yeah.
And yes, those are the two that I went to. And then we have a hotel in Joburg called the Saxon, and they are just about to open a new camp called Shambhala, which is where Nelson Mandela wrote The Long Walk to Freedom.
Wow.
And that's opening later on this year. So that's somewhere you should definitely go. I mean, it's not like Tanzania, it's not quite as open, but it's absolutely exquisite, really beautiful. So that's definitely number one on your destination.
Okay.
What is the most unexpected travel experience you've ever had?
When we used to go every couple of weeks, because Mozambique was the adjacent country to Swaziland and the Indian Ocean. And at that point, it was a Portuguese colony. So having Portuguese food was so exotic to somebody growing up on, because my mother hated cooking, and she taught our cook in Swaziland to do 7 recipes. So on a Monday we had beef, Tuesday it was pork, Wednesday it was lamb, Thursday it was chicken, Friday was fish out of a tin, Saturday was a barbecue, Sunday was a barbecue. So it was regimented. Absolutely, there was no variation of what we ate, with the pudding at the end. Hopefully bread and butter. So going to Mozambique was so exotic. And when I was 7, we went to a place called San Martino, which is a lagoon on the Indian Ocean, that the mouth of the lagoon closes up for 6 months of the year by sand. The sand, tide or whatever, covers that up. And there was a great white shark that had got trapped in this lagoon. Yeah. And I was on a boat with my father. We were fishing, outdoor motor, and the thing bust or conked out, and this shark came at us.
Oh my God!
And bashed up against the boat. So it was doing all that, and so he was screaming, I was screaming, and because the water is so flat in a lagoon, the sound travelled, and people came and rescued us. But that was the hairiest travel experience I've ever had.
That's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, it was.
That's
but
like
also
Jaws.
exhilarating. Yeah, it was. Except that, the boat didn't sink and we didn't get bitten. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here now.
Did you feel nervous about going in the sea again after that, or on a
No,
boat?
I'm obsessed with going in the sea. And I went on a reality TV thing with Ruby Wax outside Cape Town about a dozen years ago. And we were put in a Perspex drum in the channel where great white sharks swim between an island and the shore. And the shark comes right up to you because we were in this Perspex thing that was here, and the shark obviously couldn't see that because you see through it.
Yeah.
But it obviously senses it, and it came directly at us, and it swims very, very slowly, and they're very curious. And I thought that was one of the most exhilarating things.
How was
I've ever
Ruby? Did she
experienced.
freak out?
Yeah, she did.
I can imagine. Oh my God, oh my God. That's
Yeah,
extraordinary.
it was.
Wow. But you still
So
love the
sharks,
sea.
yeah, love the sea. If I could live in another element. So the first time I went scuba diving on my honeymoon in the Seychelles, on our honeymoon in the Seychelles in 1986, and I got my scuba license, diving license, PADI. That was as good and as close to the feeling of having sex as I've ever experienced.
Was it really?
Yeah, going underwater. So every time I go underwater scuba diving, I think, well, this is as close as
As near as I'm going to get.
as that feeling is.
Did Joan dive as well with you?
No, Joan, my late wife, nearly drowned when she was 10 years old off the coast of Aberdeen. And so she would put her head under the water. She had a lifelong fear of it.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And also, swimming in Aberdeen is not one that you want to remember either.
Well, the North Sea in a boat that capsized when you're 10 years old is terrifying and freezing cold.
Freezing cold. I actually went to Gordonston School and I had to jump into the North Sea every morning. That was what we had to do on a cruise. I've never felt cold like it. And everyone now is into this cold swimming, whatever they do. I've done that. 5 years of my life I did it. I'm never doing it again, I can assure you.
Yeah, but it's the secret of your youth and your how good you look.
Yes,
because you were dumped in that ice water.
Ice cold.
Tanya's actually 105. It's looking marvellous.
Looking fabulous. What is the most overrated or underrated travel experience you've ever had?
Underrated for me is just walking in a city, because there are guided tours that you can do, which I've never done. But, even though I've lived in London for 42 years, you can still walk somewhere and be gobsmacked by what is around a corner, because it's not, unlike New York, which is on that grid system. So, up and down an avenue or
can't really go
side
off the beaten
street.
track.
Well, not so much. It's not as, it is varied, but London or Paris or Rome or anywhere in Europe is, a continuing astonishment to me. So I think that's the underrated.
Our mutual friend, Anya Highmarch, was on the
Yes.
podcast, and she does walking tours in London. She has a special guide that she actually names in the podcast. I'm going to send you the name of that guide, because she does it all the time. Her and James don't. You're not going to.
Don't. Because it's, I don't know, when I go into an art gallery and they said, you want the headphones on, I don't want that. I don't want to be told.
Oh, I see. You want to actually wander.
I want to discover it and not be told that stuff. So
I'm absolutely terrible as a tourist. If I go anywhere, I love going off the beaten track. If I want to go to a museum, I will go and see the one painting that I want to see. I cannot bear having a guided tour for 5 hours of a museum. Can't bear it.
So we're the same. Sorry, Anya.
No, but I actually can't bear that. And when I go to New York, I always go to the Frick Collection, which is my favourite museum.
I was there 2 weeks ago.
But I will go and look at one painting and then go to the cafe and then just walk out. That to me is heaven. Having somebody telling me this, that and the other and then boring me to death is just not exciting for me.
You see people walking around, the guide has got an umbrella,
Oh my goodness.
on a stick, and people all herding, following along. That to me is an absolute nightmare.
Let's go on to food and drink. So food and drink is so much part of travel. What do you like eating? Where do you like eating? What's your favourite meal you've ever had? The favourite bar, your drink? Let's just talk about food and drink.
Italian food is the greatest cuisine for me on the planet. English puddings, the best. But an extraordinary meal that I had, and this is name dropping, but I was invited to dinner in Nice, in the south of France, by Elton John, his husband David Furnish, and their house guest Lulu.
Wonderful.
The Glaswegian songbird. And we went to a restaurant that I'd never been to before that point called La Petite Maison, just diagonally across the road from the Opera House. And it is presided over by an extraordinary woman called Nicole, who, I mean, the food was absolutely extraordinarily good. The best ceviche prawns that I ever eaten, tuna with a veal sauce on top, which was amazing, which they don't do anymore. But the pièce de résistance was this thing that was off menu, and because it was Elton John, she fan danced all around us. And they were freshly made baguettes, basted in butter and stuffed with shaved black truffles. And orgasmatron of the mouth. That was an absolute guaranteed belter. And it was extraordinary. And because my wife and I had a house inland for 33 years in the south of France, we used to go to Nice every Monday, go to the antiques market in the morning, Castel Plage for lunch on the beach, and then go to La Petite Maison at night for dinner. And because of the Elton John connection, Nicole always got us in. But for about 5 or 10 years, when my film career stock dropped in her estimation, sometimes she wouldn't greet you at all. And then other times she'd be all over you and then drop you. So it was very capricious. And then one night I went there, I was doing a film near Saint-Tropez with Jude Law. And I called up and I said, I want a table outside on the terrace, and Jude Law is coming. Well, by the time we got there, there was a gypsy band music. Everything on the menu was just laid out. And so my stock in her eyes went up again. But I saw her at a table next to me pull the tablecloth off and get rid of the two people that were sitting there because she just took against them. They weren't given an explanation. She just smashed a champagne glass right next to women that were immaculately dressed and go, oh!
She's extraordinary. I love that restaurant. We always go to the Colombe d'Or every summer. That's where we stay.
I know you do. It's your favourite hotel in the world.
My favourite hotel in the world. When we go to the La Petite Maison, it's exactly the same. She either loves you or hates, but her party trick is that she pretends to give you a glass of champagne.
Yeah, and then drops it.
And the waiters are right behind her with the dustpan and brush because they know she's going to do that. So I don't know if that's when she takes again you, that she doesn't want you in there. I've seen her doing it so many times, though. Yeah. It is extraordinary.
And the prices are off the chart.
The best thing I've ever had there was a jacket potato with the most enormous amount of caviar just plonked on the top. It was absolutely delicious.
I've not seen that on the menu.
Maybe it's not on the menu.
Beyond my pay grade.
No, maybe it's not on the menu. I think we went to a private party and they had it on that, but it was absolutely delicious. Yeah. My last meal on earth would either be Italian, just penne with tomato sauce, or a jacket potato with caviar.
At La Petite Maison.
At La Petite Maison, or at the River
Living
Cafe.
in terror that Nicole might come
over. Well,
whip you off.
Compared with lovely Ruthie, if it was going to be at the River Cafe, I'd be very, very happy. Very happy indeed. What is your best insider travel secret or tip?
Hand luggage only rule. My luggage got lost in New York 25 years ago, and ever since then I swore, and I've stuck to it, of never travelling with more than hand luggage.
How do you do that?
You roll everything up really tight, no matter how, and you can do it between something over your shoulder and hand baggage. Then you never wait at a carousel, and luggage never gets lost, and you're liberated from it. And also you can go shopping at the other end, was what I used to say to my wife and daughter. If you need more shoes than I do, put them in my suitcase. And whatever you don't have, we'll go shopping at the other end.
And then do you check in when you come back then because you've got more luggage on the way back? Not even?
Sometimes. Yeah, I've had to do that very, very occasionally. but
Handle.
yeah.
And what suitcase do you have?
Oh, I don't know. One of those.
Oh, so nothing
Oh, no,
fancy.
no labelled anything.
Not a Rimowa.
No, I don't even know what that is.
That is the best luggage.
Is that the silver one that costs £1,000?
Yes, but
I just read about this on Instagram.
What? You would be the best ambassador for them.
Well,
I'm going to put you forward. I'm going to tell your agent. I found you a new ambassador.
The agent, but get me straight
in there.
Straight direct to me.
Straight in there.
Yeah. What luggage do you have?
Not a Rimowa, unfortunately. I actually have an Antler, which is very good.
And
very
do you
good.
travel with check-in luggage?
Yes. Even
Why?
when I'm going for 2 days, because I'm the most disgusting packer. I take too many shoes, too many bags, too many coats.
Tanya Rose, get me round
Can
to your
you give me a
house.
packing lesson?
I will pack it for you. You put everything that you want on your bed, and I will come around at no charge, and I will pack for you, and you'll be liberated.
So when we go to Istanbul,
I've done this with 5 people now recently.
Will you really?
Yeah.
I promise you.
Yeah, it is an absolutely, it's
Life-changing.
Yeah, it will change your life. Yeah.
I'm-
But you don't need all that stuff.
As you said before, this is being recorded. I'm going to hold you to it. Absolutely hold you to it.
Do you like shopping?
I'm afraid so.
I love shopping.
Shopping's
Don't be
my
afraid
favourite
so.
thing
Oh,
in
it's
the
one of
world.
my favourite things of all time. So shop at the other end.
My
And just roll it up tight.
My favourite shopping in the UK is at Bicester Village. I love Bicester Village.
Right.
And my favourite shop at Bicester Village is Carol Bamford's shop, because Carol Bamford's clothes are amazing but so expensive. But the shop at Bicester is 70% off. It is fantastic.
Do you like a discount?
I do. I love it. I love pre-loved, vintage and a discount.
Pre-loved is for dead people's clothes, isn't it?
Yes.
Vintage, second-hand. You can't say second-hand now. It's
No.
Pre-loved.
Pre-loved.
Man,
Pre-loved.
man.
And dead people's, oh no, now I'm going to wear my Chanel jacket, which I think is pre-loved, and it's going to be a dead person's jacket.
Absolutely, yeah. Worn with pride.
But it was very cheap. It was great. When you did travel secrets, not travel secrets, hotel secrets, which was your favourite hotel?
The Ballyfin in Ireland.
Mine
because it was, you
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's an absolutely stunning hotel. I loved it. And it's an extraordinary story because it was built in the 18th century as a house for the equivalent of David Beckham and
Victoria
at that time. So, and then I think it fell into disrepair or got neglected, and then it was a hospital, and then it was a school, whatever. And then an Irish woman who worked there as a chambermaid emigrated to the US and married a Chicago businessman or inventor who patented that little white gubbins that used to have the phone line when you had phone lines that goes into goes into the wall. And that little thing made his fortune. So he bought the Ballyfin for her as a gift. And then she turned it into this amazing boutique hotel.
It's so beautiful.
So it's like staying in somebody's
home,
except that, there's immaculate service and you don't have to go, oh my God.
No,
you have
it's
to put up with
beautiful.
that person.
When I had Dominic West on the podcast, his wife has a castle in Ireland called Glynn Castle.
I know.
And he said that the Kardashians phoned wanting to stay at Glynn Castle. And the wife or the mother-in-law said absolutely not. But there's a lovely hotel down the road.
Ballyfin.
And went to Ballyfin. And then suddenly I think Dominic said, well, why did you turn them down? This is ridiculous. But no, absolutely.
Because they obviously don't need the money.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been to Glynn Castle. Apparently it's very beautiful.
I haven't been either.
No, I haven't. But Ballyfin is a real special place. I totally agree with you. So that takes us nicely on to the most poignant travel experience you've ever had.
The most poignant was, we didn't know it at the time, because as John Lennon said just before he was murdered, life is what happens in between making your plans. The last summer that my wife and I had in this house in Provence that we'd had for 33 years was the summer of 2020, 4 months before she was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. So all the pictures that I have of that time, and my daughter was working in London, so she couldn't come with us. So it was the one and only time that we as a couple had been together on holiday 24/7. So we spent all our time eating, cooking, swimming, going to Nice, La Petite Maison once a week. And the thing that we just obsessively did was to go to Provence and antique shopping and junk shops and all of that. I now look at the photographs and I see that she was already unwell, but I didn't know that at the time. So, ignorance is bliss.
And you had 4 wonderful months.
Yeah. So that's what I remember. And I've now sold that house because going there without her is too painful. Yeah.
I can imagine. And going back to your book, A Pocket Full of Happiness, it must have been a very difficult thing to write. But I really do think that you'll be looking down and you do bring a pocket full of happiness to everyone you meet. It's amazing. It's wonderful.
Well, it was a great match. She said 4 days before she died, she said to my daughter and I know that you're going to be sad but she said, every single one of us, including both of you, is going to die. And this just happens to be, it's my turn. And I completely accept it. And I challenge you both to try and find a pocket full of happiness after I've gone. And it has been a great mantra by which to navigate the abyss of grief that you have to deal with. Mm-hmm. And it's been 4 years now, and there's not a day goes by that I don't. Somebody kindly carved it on a piece of wood for me and sent it, and it's also written across the top of my laptop and on my phone. So it's something that I suppose previously I thought in life you had to either win the lottery or win an Oscar or stay in the best hotel in the world or whatever it was. But I suppose recalibrate your thinking of finding joy and delight in something that doesn't have to be material. A $75 million lottery thing is a way of enjoying your life much more mindfully, if that doesn't sound really wanky.
No, I think it sounds wonderful. And I think you really do. Although you were nominated for an Oscar and you were very happy about that, weren't you?
I was because I knew that it was the one and only.
But it was wonderful. I loved the post that you put up because you were so excited. And actually, the ceremony must have been such fun for you.
It was because I knew I'd never been nominated before or since. And in my category, Best Supporting Actor, I'd got to know on the awards circuit which goes on for 5 months, which you have no sense of in advance. I got to know all the other actors quite well. And we all knew, because there's always one category a year where it's absolutely clear that there's a out-and-out winner. And we knew that Mahershala Ali was going to win. So it meant that you could enjoy it for the ride without thinking, do I have to make a speech or any of that stuff. So as I've been a lifelong Barbra Streisand obsessive, when she came on to present an award, that was winning for me. And then I met her afterwards, and I've subsequently met her multiple times and commissioned a 2-foot-tall sculpture of her head for my garden.
It looks amazing.
So, going to the Oscars and meeting her at the party afterwards, that was to me better than anything that I could ever have imagined.
I love your obsession with Barbra Streisand because I am too obsessed with her. I think she's amazing. But I love it in your book when you were a 14-year-old or something. Didn't you write to her?
Oh, yeah,
What did you say?
I said, Dear Barbra Streisand, I've read that, in the newspaper you've had a failed romance with Mr. Ryan O'Neill, and that you're sick and tired of being hounded by the press. Please come to Swaziland where we can give you a 2-week holiday where nobody will know who you are here. We have a lovely pool with a view, and your films only show in our one cinema for 2 or 3 days, so you will not be harassed. I look forward to hearing from you very shortly. Yours sincerely. And fast forward 40 years, and I went and took a selfie outside her gate. I asked the security whether to have permission to do this in her house in Malibu, and then posted it with this letter that you've just asked me about on Twitter. And then a day later, my daughter called me up from London. I could hear her laughing in the background. And she said, Dad, have you looked at Twitter today? And I said, no. She said, Barbara Streisand has replied to you. I said, don't fuck with me. This is too painful. You can't. This is my, it's too painful for you to do this. She said, calm down. Look. Dear Richard, thank you so much for the beautiful letter you wrote me when you were 14 years old. Regret I never got it. Congratulations on your latest movie with Melissa McCarthy. Congratulations, love Barbara. Well, I just lost it. It was
that
better than anything that I could have anticipated. So
that's so. And now you're friends.
Yes. Well,
has she seen the statue?
She's seen photographs of it. She hasn't seen it in person. She doesn't like to travel.
Oh, shame. If she does travel, though, maybe you'll get her over to Richmond.
Maybe.
So finally, I asked you to bring a photograph, to describe the photograph and tell us how that sums up travel to you.
Okay, it's a picture of the pool area of the house that we had in Provence that I've been talking about for 33 years. And because we bought it when our daughter was 6 weeks old, and so it's all her childhood, all her growing up years, and it was the one time of the year when work, telephones, emails, all of that was just kind of outside the gate. So having that place to go to every summer was really a magical place. And we had a badminton party for 100 people every summer, and so that is the place that.
And the picture.
That is the picture of the place. Yeah.
How wonderful! And finally, where are you going next? And what's next for Richard E. Grant? What are you working on?
I am going to Austin, Texas, for there's a big film event that happens there to launch new films. And I've done a film with Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd called Death of a Unicorn, which premieres worldwide on the 10th of April. So it's being launched in Texas and then premiere in New York in March. And then straight after that, I am going to India, Jaipur.
Have you been to India before?
I have, many times.
Do you love it?
I love it. Yeah. Do you?
I went for my sister's wedding, which was absolutely wonderful. She married an Indian, and it was 3 days of magnificence. It was wonderful in the Himalayas. But I must say, I found the poverty very difficult. The actual richness is amazing and the culture's amazing, but the poverty is so close to that. And I found that quite difficult. So I need to go back. And there are amazing palaces there, and there are amazing hotels there.
There are.
So I do need to go back to India. I found it a little bit difficult. But I did in South Africa as well. I adore South Africa. And I came back and spoke to my husband. I said, we need to buy a house in South Africa. It's so beautiful. The food is amazing. The people are amazing. The wine. But again, going to those townships, which I did, and then seeing the very big houses felt very difficult for me.
Yeah, the divide between rich and poor there is. And unlike India, which I think is a huge difference, because they didn't have apartheid, the very wealthy Indians and the very poorest Indians are all Indian. Whereas in South Africa, the richest people are white people and the poorest people are black people, almost without exception. And I think that just is worlds apart.
Yeah, I found that very, very difficult, I must say. Richard, it's been a joy and delight to go around the world.
Joy. And now for my
Thank you.
medley of travel songs.